In episode 6 of Girls' Last Tour, we're introduced to Ishii. By this point in the story, we understand that the world is long dead and that what we are watching are the last embers of humanity trying to make sense of a senseless world. Ishii is a mechanic and a prospective pilot. She studied ancient manuals and cobbled together what scraps she could find to build herself an aircraft with the hopes of one day flying it. Over the course of the episode, our main characters, Chito and Yuri, help Ishii make her final preparations, while learning about her desires to leave the endless, abandoned metropolis and establish contact with survivors who might live elsewhere. Towards the end of the episode, Ishii is ready, and after a seemingly successful takeoff, her plane falls to pieces. As Ishii slowly parachutes down, her life's work in ruins and facing a potentially impossible journey back to her base, the girls watch her through a telescope to see her smiling. This smile, a smile in the face of hopelessness, encapsulates the message of Girls' Last Tour. Not a smile of defiance or a belief in a brighter future, but a smile of acceptance and alleviation. White Fox's 2017 anime adaptation of Tsukamizu's manga Girls' Last Tour was a show which largely flew under the radar of many viewers, but has since garnered a respectable reputation and cult following as a beautifully written and contemplative 12-episode series. The show follows Chito and Yuri as they travel through the ruins of the post-apocalypse in search of food, water, and signs of civilization. The premise makes the show sound bleak, and in some ways it is. The ever-present spectre of the dilapidated cityscape can feel haunting and oppressive, and there's little in the way of food and water, and even fewer signs of civilization. And yet, the tone of the show is reassuring. Girls' Last Tour is part of the Iyashikei, or healing genre, characterized by the musings of everyday life and calming elements designed to put the audience at ease, not unlike Animal Crossing, which can be considered an Iyashikei-style game. Naturally, these stories tend to be set in rural or suburban domestic environments, but Girls' Last Tour manages to transpose the Iyashikei style to a war-ravaged wasteland while playing the genre 100% straight. Each episode is broken down into 2 or 3 segments, each revolving around a different aspect of the girls interacting with their environment. Whether it's cooking a batch of rations, trying to keep warm, or listening to the music of rainfall. The substance of the show comes from the conversations that these events raise, and the differences in the personality and outlooks between Chi and Yu. Chito is thoughtful, quiet, and bookish. She tends to look for the bigger picture and put things into context. The girl's primary objective is to reach the highest level of the city to see if people, or tasty fish, can still be found there, and she is the one who keeps them pushing forward. She's the responsible one, which is why she gets to drive the half-track. Yuri, on the other hand, is impulsive and reactive. She lives fully for the moment and doesn't care for things that aren't immediately gratifying. It's for these reasons why she never learned to read and why she's more interested in eating food than preserving it. Chito and Yuri balance each other out. While Chi is the brain and Yu is the stomach, both share a good heart. The complementary nature of their relationship is the key to enjoying the show, because once you buy that they are a good team and good friends because of their differences, you buy how these differences give rise to their dialogue, and that dialogue is the heart of this story. While most shows of this style might ponder these mundane aspects of life in mundane surroundings, Girls' Last Tour uses its post-apocalyptic setting to recontextualize those conversations. One of the story's key themes is on learning to appreciate what we have, and as the girls encounter relics from our society that have survived the destruction, their curiosity and ignorance asks the audience to understand the value of things which we take for granted. Why do we believe in things? Why do we want to capture moments in time? Why do we listen to music? These types of questions seem like they should have easy answers, but we're so rarely asked them that it can be difficult to vocalize a coherent response. It's only when you take the time to appreciate these simple things that you can put the reasoning into words. Even as I'm writing the script for this video, I'm understanding little details of Girls Last Tour which I didn't pick up on while watching. Giving that time to reflect on something and absorb it more deeply can be just as rewarding as the immediate moment itself. The girls' detachment from the devastation around them means that these type of questions can be raised regularly without feeling too forced. When you look at the endless expanse of half-ruined tower blocks, it's natural to feel a sense of loss. But Chito and Yuri don't see it that way. They weren't raised in the context of our way of life. This isn't their world in ruins, this is simply their world. They don't mourn the loss of our civilization any more than we mourn the loss of ancient Rome or Egypt. So when Chi and Yu question our way of life, it just feels like a casual observation. They're not upset that the modern world is gone, they just don't get it, and why would they? It's also natural to look at the lives of those who we encounter through this series as leading pointless, arbitrary existences. Making maps for no one to read, building planes with nowhere to fly, finding food and shelter for what? Just to live one more day? But to them, we're the strange ones. We're the ones who led lives fulfilling monotonous, passionless functions that we don't really comprehend, fill our lives with objects and distractions to give ourselves a sense of worth, and build cities just to destroy them. Our world is alien to them and we are the aliens. If you ask Kanazawa why he makes maps, at least he could give you an answer. In a sense, the end of the world freed those who it left behind. Without the expectations of modern living, the characters must define their own purpose and weigh the value of their own actions. Kanazawa draws his maps and Ishii makes plans to fly away because these are the things which give purpose to their life. Even in the destruction of the world, they have found a purpose. So when faced with the destruction of their works, they resolve to carry on regardless, even smiling, because what else do they have other than that purpose? In our own lives, we might not be as free as Ishii or Kanazawa, but we live in a society. We have a foundation and a structure and can work towards a happier tomorrow, even if doing so makes us miserable in the meantime. But the story seems to imply that that isn't enough. What is the point of leaving behind a legacy if you wasted your whole life being miserable just to secure it? It won't last forever anyway, nothing does. Girls Last Tour demonstrates that through nearly every single frame. The abandoned city looking like a graveyard to civilization itself. A mockery of the idea of permanence. Nothing lasts forever, not even humanity. So why not take a moment to enjoy the world while you still can? We might not share the circumstances of these characters, but our needs for fulfillment are still the same. The themes of purpose and destruction run deep in Girls Last Tour. The girls themselves are ultimately agents of destruction. The city is full of abandoned items and systems which Chi and Yu regularly wreck in order to make immediate use of. This building could stand for another 100 years, or it could be a bridge across this chasm. This pipe is carrying warm water somewhere else, but if we shoot it, we could have a warm bath right here. Chito and Yuri will routinely destroy something old and abstract if it means obtaining something gratifying and tangible. As for their purpose, while their mission is to reach the upper level of the city, that is not the same as their purpose. It isn't the reason that they get up in the morning. As a result, their dedication to their cause can seem fleeting as they take a go-with-the-flow approach to life and become distracted by the things and people they find. In a more traditional story, this would probably be quite annoying, but in Girls Last Tour, that's really what the show is about. Even with nothing to their name, Chito and Yuri are able to appreciate the brief moments of bliss that the world can offer, and share the experience of life together, and in doing so, fulfilling their purpose. They don't really care too much about what caused the end of the world or how long it takes them to complete their objective, and neither should we. What matters in Girls Last Tour are the conversations and moments the girls share, and the questions they raise about our own lives. The last few chapters of the manga were unfortunately never translated to the screen, but in the last few panels it's made abundantly clear. Cheeto and Yuri were living for each other. They were each the reason life was worth living for the other one, and without that companionship, they would have given up long ago. Like much of Girls Last Tour, the ending is understated, melancholic, but also blissful. The girls ended their story having achieved what they wanted in the company of someone they cared for, and having found purpose in a purposeless world. It all ends with a snowball fight, with laughter, and finally, peace. In the end, Girls Last Tour seems to side with Yuri's outlook on life, with not worrying about the bigger picture, and on making the most of the here and now. That a life well enjoyed is a life well lived. In the final chapter, Cheeto seems to doubt herself. When confronted with the hopelessness that underpins the narrative, she questions whether the choices that led them to the upper level were the right ones. But Yu has already accepted their circumstance. Why waste time worrying about their situation when they can enjoy it? But as much as the conclusion seems to agree with Yuri, the storytelling is much more like Cheeto in nature. Like Chi, Girls Last Tour is quiet, considered, and contemplative. And maybe that's the point. Maybe people like Chi are the ones who need to hear this message the most, so it's told in a way that appeals to them. Chi, after all, is the more questioning of the two girls, and this story certainly raises more questions than it answers. What is your purpose is by no means an easy question. An anime or manga certainly isn't going to give that answer to you. It's something that we all need to figure out on our own and give meaning to our lives beyond just being contributing components to a civilization that will one day crumble and die. And while finding that purpose won't come quick, in the meantime, don't forget to pause every now and then, to appreciate what you have and enjoy those fleeting moments of beauty before you miss them. Thanks for watching. Girls Last Tour is a show which is sort of close to my heart. I didn't watch it that long ago, but it left a really strong impression and I had quite a lot to say about it. If you like this video, this style of video, this is actually the second in a 3-part series comparing Girls Last Tour to Made in Abyss, which is another great show. If you haven't watched that show, go watch it and then go watch my video on it, please. That would really help. I also want to say that I've got a couple of less formal, more loose reviews about Keep Your Hands Off Iyashikei, Tower of God, and I want to record one about the first season of The Terror. Haven't got around to recording that one yet. The other two will be ready when they're ready, so yeah, look forward to those. Thanks.